Okay, so how on earth are drones and fire actually ever going to be working together? So, drones, you've got to remember, aren't just the little sporty ones you can get on the high street and have a little play with. Drones can actually also include what we call unmanned helicopters. So, there's a number of military companies, defense companies, have created helicopters that don't need people on board. Now, those helicopters can lift 2 ton. That includes water dumping. So if you have a forest fire or a bushfire, you can actually send in unmanned or drone helicopters to take the water and fight the fire. Now, we lose pilots nearly every year fighting bushfires in the world. And those are lives that should not be lost, quite frankly. We have the technology to be able to fight fire in ways that don't put human beings at risk. I believe, therefore, we have a moral quandary if we keep sending people in using traditional methods when we could be using pilotless or remotely controlled aircraft instead. Now, one of the things we can't do when we're fighting a bushfire is actually fly at night, but you can fly drones at night. So in order to get immediate information about how a bushfire is behaving, you would normally have to wait till first light, the first planes go out, the first spotters check where the fires are, they come back, they produce a report, and then someone gets to read it and then deploy everybody. Imagine, as soon as you get up, you've got a report on your smart device that tells you exactly where the fire is, how it's behaving, and how it fits in with the bushfire models. And you can literally plan your response immediately. You don't have to wait for those reports to come in from those first light operations. I think that minutes and sometimes hours, definitely, but certainly minutes can sometimes make the difference in terms of bushfire response. One of the things we have to be very careful of, though, is trying to predict where bushfires are going to be. As prediction models become less and less accurate because of climate change or other reasons why fires are becoming much more less predictable, we need the best data we can possibly have to try and keep up with how we actually respond appropriately to bushfires. So one of the things drones have been used for in that regard recently is the idea that you can work out what species a certain shrub is and how dry it is, and therefore how much oil or how much fuel it will actually contain. So we can actually do bushfire fuel loading modeling based on data captured from drones. Now that is pretty groundbreaking. If we were able to predict how a fire is going to behave, we can respond a lot quicker and a lot faster to those fires. Now, one of the big things around bushfires and drones is that we don't need the general public anywhere near emergency zones. If you see a bushfire that's happening, please do not put your drone up and go and look for it. If you see a forest fire on the news that's near to where you are and you want to go and have a look and see what's happening, please don't take your drone. Please don't go near bushfires or forest fires. One of the things that we've actually had to do here in Australia is if they see a drone near that firefighting operation, everybody else has to come in and land. The idea of having a drone interact with a helicopter or a manned aircraft and actually causing an accident is so horrific that they just down tools and they will just land all of their aircraft and they can't fight that fire until whoever's flying that drone has gone away. Please be responsible around emergency sites. I guess bushfires and forest fires are devastating in ways that I can't even go into in this module. But the one thing I do know is that drones and other types of technology are now catching up, and we're now using them in a much more business as usual way. The final example for this module is what happened at Grenfell Tower. At Grenfell Tower, people unfortunately were not able to be reached using ladders, and the hoses weren't able to go up high enough to help fight that fire. So what we have now is drones that can fly with hoses, that can maybe fly to rescue people, can maybe fly up base jumping packs so people can jump off the top, to maybe personnel transport drones to pull people off the roof. There are also drones that crawl up the sides of buildings. So even if a hose pipe is too unwieldy inside a drone flying system, maybe a drone crawling system can get hoses up buildings to fight fires in a more efficient way. Grenfell Tower was an absolute tragedy, and it's something that when we look at how they used drones in the aftermath to actually do the surveys to look for forensic reasons, wouldn't it have been great if we'd been able to use some of the drone technology we already have to help fight that fire and potentially save lives?